Hi, this is Scott. If you're watching this video, it's either late at night and you have nothing better to do, or like me, you have a Kia Sorento or maybe some other Kia product where your automatic headlights shutoff is not working anymore. So I'm here to tell you about what might fix that, and in my case, it was this. It's the door jamb switch on the driver's side, and I'm going to tell you why this is possibly the problem for you too. So basically, I had the problem where I came home from getting some groceries, came in the house, started fixing a sandwich. My neighbor came over and said, "Hey, your headlights are on." And it's like, no, they can't be on. The car knows to shut them off automatically. But I went out, and yes, they were on, and yes, I had left them on, but they're supposed to shut off automatically, and they didn't. So I had to turn them off on the stem of the, steering column there, and they went up just fine. So it's like, okay, I haven't had any issues with my car up until this point, so let's do some Google research, find out what the problem is. Well, before I could find the problem, I actually found some rules on why the headlights go out, which kind of surprised me. I thought that, if you left your headlights on and turned off the car, that, in 30, 40 seconds, it always seemed like the headlights went out. But according to the rules online, and if you can believe what you read on the internet, here's what it said. Not only do you have to turn the car off when your headlights are on, but you have to exit the car from the driver's side door. So apparently if you crawl out the window, go out a passenger side, climb in the back, and go through a rear door, none of those will turn off your headlights, which I found amazing. I did not know that. So my suspicion in the whole thing was, well, there's a lot of things going on, and maybe it's I called it the dome light switch, but it's actually the door jamb switch. So I had my suspicions. I found a couple other forums and blogs, but it was kind of the same story. It happened intermittently. They went to the dealer. Nobody could figure out what was wrong, and there was no solution. So being an engineer, I thought, well, what's the most probable thing? It's kind of like the reverse of Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes had if you rule out all the most probable things, whatever's left, no matter how improbable, is what occurred. Well, in my case, I hadn't ruled out anything, but the most suspicious thing was, could it be the door jamb switch? It's a mechanical, electrical thing. It would be subject to intermittent failures. It's not like a computer where if the computer goes bad, the computer's bad. It's not like where the software goes bad, the software is bad. And when the car's turned off, that is a major event. I think there would be a lot of other things that wouldn't work correctly if the car couldn't figure out that it was turned off. So my suspicion was the door jamb switch. So I didn't want to deal with it. I just took it to my local repair shop. I told them to replace the door jamb switch, and they kind of rolled their eyes and looked at me why. And it's like, so okay, I had to explain that my automatic headlight shutoff feature was no longer working all the time, and I suspected the switch. And they gave me well, there's so many sensors, and we know how to diagnose this. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll pay for a diagnosis type event. Well, they had it all day, couldn't replicate the problem. I got the car back in the afternoon. I couldn't replicate the problem. It's like I just figured I'd have to wait until it got worse. Well, instead, on my drive home, I decided that I would open and close my driver's side car door to see if the interior lights would come on. So that's kind of the problem with these cars, is that the interior lights come on all the time. They come on if you're inside the car and you turn off the car, then the lights come on. If you're outside the car and unlock the door, the lights come on. It's really kind of difficult to see if this little switch, which is another reason why the lights could come on, is actually the issue. So, as they say on TV, don't try this at home. Well, don't try this on the highway. You should try it at home. But I did it on the highway. Driving along 101, it's a coastal city, it's pretty calm, 30 miles an hour. I was opening and closing my driver's side door. And as I did so, the switch started to fail. The lights wouldn't come on inside, and I'd close the door and reopen. No, they didn't come on again. Eventually I get about 2/3 of the way home, and I'm doing this little maneuver, and the lights come on, but it's after a delay. And it's like, okay, try again. It's after a delay. Of course, by the time I get home, and I have all these fresh theories, then it's working fine. So it's like, how am I going to prove the switch is the problem? So what I decided to do was to verify that the switch actually does make a difference as to when the headlights go on and off. So when I got home, I parked the car, I put the brake on, I opened the car door, and of course the interior lights come on because the switch is working now. And instead of closing the door, what I did is I reached around and I just put my finger on the switch to hold the door closed. So from the car's perspective, the door's closed. And I held it, and shortly after, closing the door, the interior lights went out. So I decided, okay, fine, I'll shut down the car. My headlights are still on. So the car's shut down, I'm still holding the switch, and the interior lights come on, of course, because I've shut down the car, but I wait, and after, 20, 30 seconds, the interior lights do go out, but the headlights are still on. And according to the theory I read on the internet, this should be true. If I'm sitting in the car with the door closed, the headlights should remain on. So my next step was to pretend that I opened the door. So all I did was release my finger from the car door switch, or the car door jam switch, and the interior lights did come on, and then I just pretend closed the door by opening the switch closed again. I counted to 30, and sure enough, the headlights went off. So it took two actions. You have to basically have the headlights on when the car's running, and the two actions are you shut down the car and you open the car door, and that's what actually turns your headlights off. So I found out that yes, on my little drive home, my switch was failing because intermittently it would not register the fact that I had opened the door. And at home, I verified that the switch was indeed tied into the logic as to when the headlights should be shut off. So the part took me a little bit of research to find the part number, and I put that in the title so it'll be easy to reference. But this is for my 2011 Kia Sorento. I know it does fit a number of other Kia cars, or at least Kia, different years of those Kia Sorento. And it may fit other cars as well. So I Googled, I eventually found a part number, I got the part number, I found a supplier. The supplier I chose was about 4 hours away from me. The part, $3 and change. The shipping, $13. It was under $20 all told, and they had it to me within 5 business days. My other option was I could have ordered this from China through AliExpress, which I believe is the interface or connection into Alibaba. So if you want to get it from mainland China, it was about $6 and change, shipped direct to your house. The only thing is that it might take up to a month. The proverbial slow boat from China might take up to a month to arrive at your address. I went with a local supplier. I just didn't want to muck with it, so I got the part in about 5 business days. Now, I'll show you in a side clip a little more detail about the part, and let's cut to that. Okay, so here's a close-up of the switch. Basically, it's held to the car with a Phillips screwdriver through this rather large hole, and the electrical bundle comes in the back here. So once you have the Phillips screw out, you just kind of wiggle it out a bit until you get it free, and then the connector's kind of buried back in there pretty deep, so you have to wiggle a little more. And eventually, if you turn it to the side, you can see this clip space, and all I did was use a little screwdriver, poked it in there, and that released the electrical the electrical connector. All I did was pull it out, put the new one in, clip, screw back in, boom, done, and that's all there is to it. $3.23 and $13 in shipping. Thanks for watching.